speaker, grant you audience, receive whatever message you have, and then we can in turn communicate to the right one to speak. On that note, the floor is open. We are within the precincts of Parliament, so it's permissible for me to say the floor is open. Minority Leader, you may have your...
Yeah, so the minority now presented.
Clerk to Parliament, Deputy Clerks, members of the Parliamentary Service Management. This morning, we're here to reiterate one point. Ghana is under siege, and there's a call on us to rise, resist, and defend the judiciary. Frightening and ominous clouds loom over our republic as we march today. The 1992 Constitution, the sacred covenant that binds us as a free and sovereign people, is under brazen assault. The very institutions entrusted with safeguarding our liberties are being infiltrated, manipulated, and desecrated by ruthless cabal determined to cling to power at all costs. Even before the NDC assumed office, they had already begun a violent assault on our constitutional order. They established a so-called oral committee, an entity without legal basis or constitutional backing, which engaged in flagrant illegality. That was the opening salvo in what has now become a full-blown campaign to dismantle our sacred democratic foundations. In NDC governments today, they have deployed mercenaries and thugs, and they did so during the coalition. They managed to control the coalition centers last year, and to date, they've managed to stop through violence the declaration of the Ablekuma North constituency parliamentary elections. They brutalized party agents, intimidated voters, coerced electoral commission officials into declaring fraudulent parliamentary results in their favor. Where they failed to steal outright, they sought to manipulate, to bully, to force outcomes. It is no wonder that the court are now systematically throwing out their bogus claims. This is because truth, though often delayed, cannot be buried. These mercenaries and thugs did not merely brutalize our parliamentary candidates, agents and supporters. They mutilated our nation. They inflicted physical harm, burned down the electoral commission offices, and destroyed vital public property. Yet to this day, none of them has been held accountable in court of law. Indeed, today Ghana, impunity reigns, and it's at the very top. Since assuming office, the president has weaponized the security services, deploying them in retrogressive PNDC-style raids on the homes of political opponents. Private citizens, including former governor of the central bank, Dr. Addison, and former finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, have had their property seized, their rights violated, and their dignity stripped. This is not governance. It is tyranny cloaked in the robes of democracy. Additionally, this government has arbitrarily dismissed senior military officers with years of faithful service. The government has gutted the Ghana Armed Forces of professional experience and neutrality. Our military, once revered for its non-partisanship, is now being painted in NDC colors. This is a dangerous betrayal of the Republic. And why? Because the president no longer sees himself as a president. He fancies himself as an autocrat, a ruler for life. A number of guests at the inauguration told the story. Military dictators, authoritarian sympathizers, men of iron fists and empty conscience. And as if to erase all doubt, the president donned full military regalia at a recent armed forces event, parading as a commander of the nation he plans to subdue, not to serve. His every gesture speaks to a sinister agenda to break the constitution and amend it and prolong his grip on power, abetted by a judiciary he is desperate to capture. In other words, the president is looking forward to using the judiciary for a third term. This explains the relentless siege on the judiciary. A judiciary that has stood as a last bulwark between autocracy and freedom is now the target of the NDC government. Today, the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokonu, a distinguished servant of this republic, is under siege. The head of the judiciary is being dragged through a sham process of removal from office, engineered by a desperate president and a rubber stamped by a toothless failed Council of State. Their goal is not justice, it is intimidation. It is a warning shot to every judge: obey or be broken. They do not seek a judiciary that upholds the law. They seek one that bows to the will of a dictator, President Mahama. A bench bent to serve power, not principle. I repeat, a bench bent to serve power, not principle. They seek to install kangaroo courts and a democratic facade. What is happening is no accident. It is a warning, a threat, a ruthless message to every judicial officer that dissent will be crushed and independence punished. Let us remember the BNDC, the ideological ancestor of today's NDC, once murdered 3 High Court judges in cold blood. One of them, Justice Cecilia Quarantinado, was pregnant. She died with her unborn child, burned, defiled, and erased. That dark memory now casts its shadow once more as Mahama returns with vengeance in his heart and fear as his weapon. This time, instead of the bullet and fire, the NDC uses nominations and intimidation. The NDC has proposed 7 new appointments to the Supreme Court. Some competent, yes, but all selected to serve the diabolical agenda of the NDC government for a 3rd term for President Mahama. The wishes of the NDC is to fashion a judiciary in their image, subservient, pliant, loyal to party above law. It is no coincidence that President Mahama himself titled his memoir, My First Coup d'etat. The unfolding attacks on our democratic institutions appear to be his second. But the judiciary is not only his target and the target of his government and his party. Since returning to power, President Mahama has embarked on a sweeping peg of public and civil service. Hundreds of hard-working Ghanaians, professionals who have served government of all stripes with dignity and skill, have been dismissed without cause or hounded into forced resignation. Their only crime was refusing to wear the NDC's colors or submit to its whims. This is a direct assault on the principle of neutrality in our public administration. It is a betrayal of the values enshrined in our constitution: merit, impartiality, and service to the nation, not to any political party. And as if the shameful attacks on the Chief Justice were not enough, His Excellency the President plans to turn his diabolic sight on the Electoral Commission, just as several of his party stalwarts have predicted. Plans are far advanced to dismantle the current commission and replace its leadership with loyal NDC operatives. This is no longer speculation. It is an unfolding conspiracy. The goal is clear: to seize total control of the democratic process and bend future elections to the will of one man and his party, a 3rd term agenda. He may have risen to power through the ballot box, but make no mistake, President Mahama and his party have no respect for the constitution that made that possible. They speak of accountability, but what do they think they are doing, and who do they think they are fooling? The Attorney General, far from being guardian of justice, has been reduced to a partisan tool, sweeping away prosecutions against NDC officials who allegedly were involved in all manner of malfeasance during the first administration of President Mahama. Now entangled in a web of allegations and counter-allegations, he has become a perfect reflection of the regime's decay, a symbol not of justice, but of rot in high office. They now choose which judge to sit on a particular case. And we've seen the transfer of a particular judge to preside on a case. An example again is Mr. Kwabena Edubuahin. How a suspect who is on bail could be remanded in custody because the Attorney General claims that the accused is doing something untoward. This is an example of what the NDC is up to. No more justice, but intimidation and what the government wants. And the president himself, this is a man who boldly vowed to sanction any appointee who failed to comply with the constitutional mandate, declare asset before assuming public office. Yet, days after credible reports revealed that dozens of ministers and other appointees had flouted this obligation, Mr. President remains silent, lacking the courage to act. Instead of upholding the Constitution, his government issues weak denials and evasive statements, shielding the lawless while persecuting the principle. They recently attacked our brother, John Intim Fodjo, for speaking out. They claim he has to be reporting to the NIB. For what offense? This is not leadership. It is conspiracy of impunity, a cabal determined to protect its own and crush all who dare to hold them accountable. Let us be clear. This is not politics as usual. This is a dangerous, coordinated attack on Ghana's constitutional democracy. And that is why we march today. We march to resist the rise of a new oppressor and an oppressive regime. One who wears the cloth of democracy but governs with the spirit of dictatorship. We march not as partisans but as patriots. We march because the Constitution demands it. Article after article of our supreme law enjoins us to defend the Republic not with arms but with truth, courage, and lawful resistance. We must be vigilant. We must be relentless. We must use every constitutional tool at our disposal to oppose this descent into despotism. Every citizen who cherishes freedom must rise, loud, bold, and fearless. We must organize, mobilize, and strategize until this diabolical agenda is brought to its knees. We say to the judiciary, your first duty is the Constitution, not to this government, not to any president, not to any party. You owe an allegiance to the Republic and its people. In these trying times, we do not ask you to take sides. We ask you to stand firm, to stand for justice, stand for Ghana, and know this, you are not alone. We stand with you, yes, and will not falter until judicial independence is restored and protected always. Let history record that in the darkest of times, we did not cower to the whims of a despotic ruler and its government in a democratic attack. Let it be said that when Ghana's democracy bled, we did not look away. We stood up. Yes. We fought back, yes, with valor, yes, and reclaimed our republic. May God bless our struggle. May God bless our constitution. And may God bless the Republic of Ghana and make her great and strong. Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk to Parliament, on behalf of the demonstrators, the petitioners, and all patriots who have gathered here today, I place in your hand our petition. This is the second for the day. The first was to the Judicial Secretary for onwards transmission to the Judicial Council. This is the second to another co-equal arm of states, an equal arm of government, Parliament. Receive it to be transmitted to the Speaker for further deliberations on the floor of the House. Thank you so much indeed. And we promise one more time that this is going to be a peaceful demonstration. No violence intended. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you very much. Myself and my colleagues have received the petition on behalf of Right Honourable Speaker and will accordingly transmit it to the Right Honourable Speaker for appropriate action. And let me assure you that we will do the needful on our part. Mr. Speaker is the Speaker of the House, and I believe he will also do the needful. On that note, we thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you very much.
Media, take your mics. Microphone.